All right, we're going live. If you just want to welcome everybody.
Welcome everybody. It's Coach Dan, questions and answers. This is Coach Steve joining today.
How you doing, guys?
Well, Steve, why don't you tell them a little about yourself and your
Definitely.
experience?
Yeah, so I started training with Easton on my 20th birthday. Started teaching orientations and classes about a year after that. So I've been with Easton total for a little over 9 years now, teaching for about 8 of those years, competing throughout that time as well, training in Thailand on 3 separate occasions. I fought all 3 times there. Yeah, born and bred here. This is all I know besides the camp I went to, Easton.Online, so I'm very fortunate to be part of this team.
So ask away, guys. Ask your questions. We know that we looked around the gym. We see that a lot of pads are gone, a lot of bags are gone. So we brought some of the gear out. If you have any questions of how to hold the gear, any drills with the gear, just go ahead and ask. We also want to catch up on how you guys are doing as well. I think it's like the 10th day of quarantine, and it's been a week since our last video. So if you have any questions for us, go ahead and ask away. And if you want to update us on how you guys are doing, we'd love to hear what you guys got and fill us. Yeah, go ahead. We're waiting. Let's go.
Awesome. So it actually doesn't look like we have really many people watching yet.
Yeah.
So the questions might come in a little bit slow here. So I would say if you guys got some techniques you guys want to demonstrate or start doing that,
Yeah.
start talking about some things.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Some round kicks. We're just going to do some round kicks just to start making some noise and throw it your way.
Get your guys' attention, hopefully. Oh, that's nice.
Hey. 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 Guys, one thing you can add in on your round kicks on your left, on either side, is just something to add on so Steve can get his balance back. So what I'm going to do is start with a check. Right, so he kicks, and I'm going to make sure he's getting his balance back and throwing his check up. I'm going to shoot my check out like that. That's one great drill to get your balance. Next one was a little bit of footwork. Forward and backwards motion with your punches, so you go kicking forward into the cross. In case you knock someone back with your kick, fall back, step forward. Again, a couple of these, 5 total. Next one will be retreating, right? So I kick and I'm giving him forward pressure. He's going to walk me down into the cross again, but just falling back. Right? So move his legs backwards, kick, fall back, and cross. Okay? So different between if you knock me back or if I'm giving you forward pressure. Kick. Good. And as Steve is doing, he's just rocking his leg directly backwards, just walking back, making that space. How can we entering, coming in off that space, and then just drops the cross. So just step, boom, move across. Good. Jeez.
We got a quick question and then you guys can jump back to it. So on Facebook, we have Aaliyah Christine.
Aaliyah!
Oh, you guys know Aaliyah?
We know Aaliyah.
Awesome.
Of course we know Aaliyah.
Fantastic. So she was asking, who's your favorite fighter? So maybe each of you, favorite fighter and why?
Mine?
Why? Yeah.
Porsanai Sitmonchai. Definitely my #1 overall pound for pound favorite. For Muay Thai. For kickboxing, I'd say Matsato or Joe Valtellini.
Mine always varies and different. So it's like my favorite movie. It always changes, So I have like a wide range of at least 10. But for Muay Thai, definitely either Sanchai or Buakaw, just because those guys inspired me when I was first starting in Muay Thai. So I definitely liked watching those. And then kickboxing, I love like Nicky Holskin and Joe Valtellini. Right, obviously Ramon Deckers. There's so many. I could just go for days on that. But I like to have at least 5 in the back pocket that can throw that. It always changes. Like my favorite movie, it's always different. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, here's a good one that might bring you guys back together here. So, what are your guys' favorite weapons for the clinch while you're in the clinch? What do you guys like to do there, each of you?
My favorite weapon is turning. I like to turn. Why? Because it's going to off-balance my partner and allows me to throw the knee. I don't like to knee or try to elbow right off the bat. I like to try to off-balance my partner by turning. So I like to work on turning my partner, and that sets up other weapons like knees and elbows if you can off-balance your partner.
Do you want to demonstrate a little bit before we get to
sure.
Steve's?
Yeah. So one of my favorite ones is going from inside 50-50, right? So that means, so you have 2 options. You have outside 50-50, then inside 50-50. So what I like from inside 50-50 is the ability to be able to control his balance with his arm. Okay? It's kind of harder to do with this side, but on this side I can control his balance. So I can pull him this way or that way, and that allows him to knock off the balance. So I like to step or knee bump, right? And then I can twist my partner to lift it up and pull into my back pocket. Boom. And then that knee. Boom. Obviously, you can elbow as well. Yeah, my favorite, from getting that position, so say me and Steve are outside, I like to kind of work my way in to that position. And once I'm here, I pretty much, every time I have this position.
Can you guys get to the logo?
Every time I have this position, I always go that inside 50-50. I really like that one a lot. Boom. So I like inside 50-50 and turning. That's pretty much my go-to. What do you guys see?
So,
Keep it on the logo if you can, just so, yeah, there we go.
so one of my favorite things to do in the clinch is to inflict damage. So I'm not big on sweeping. I like to off-balance people, but I'm always going to kind of take the opportunity to hit them with a hard knee or elbow instead of jockeying for position and staying there longer than I have to, I guess. So one of the things that I like to do, before anything, I have to make sure that I'm centered or grounded once the clinch is engaged. Once the clinch is engaged, a lot of people notice this in their first fight. In a long clinch battle, it's like so I think one of the best things you can do right when you enter is get grounded right away. So if me and Danny are here and we are engaging the clinch, once we're inside, 50-50, whatever, full plumb, I work out a quick scramble. I want to make sure that I can anchor in the position that I'm residing in right now for 1 to 2 seconds and ground myself right here. So it's a lot harder for Danny to turn. So we enter into the clinch here, jockey for position. Okay, we get to 50-50. Good. Anchor for a second. The first thing I want to do is I try and set up a quick elbow. Nothing that's overcommitted, but something to get their guard to move and compromise their position. So whatever elbow I see first, it could be pulling this arm out, elbowing here. Again, not a big shoulder rotation at all. Quick motion here. If they're loose and lazy on this lead hand, I'll come over the top just like that. Once I do that, I'm going to immediately start looking for a more dominant position to set up a big knee up the middle and then work off of that. So that would be probably my favorite.
So Steve likes to inflict damage. I like to turn. It really depends on what kind of style you like. You can inflict damage with elbows and knees right off the bat, or you can work your way in and turn and eventually get to those elbows and knees. It really kind of depends. 2 different opinions there.
Awesome. So we got another question on YouTube from Vita Waters. And this is something I identify with because I've been going through the same thing. She says, I felt my body getting weaker from exercising less and also less motivated on my own. Do you guys have any thoughts on how to stay motivated alone in my house?
I am with you 100% on that. It's so hard to stay motivated, especially in these times and at home especially. One of my main things is a kickboxing playlist that has all these inspirational quotes within the music, and I just put that on real loud, and that helps me zone in and kind of put myself in a different place, and it helps give me more motivation to train harder. So music for me is a huge thing when I'm alone. what was the other one? The body's feeling weak. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you're not training like you normally do, right? So you're giving your body the same amount of exposure to all the stuff that we do here in the gym that you are at home. So that makes complete sense. Maybe add in another workout, double up, and try to maintain that strength that you normally have when you're here at the gym. But I'm with you. I'm with you on the having a hard time being motivated, especially at home with the bag and you don't have a partner. It's real difficult. Like I said, music is huge for me. I can send you a playlist that I like to listen to. It's called like Kickboxing Planet, and it has all kinds of highlights from fighters and inspirational quotes in between it. And like when I'm like at home and I'm doing the workout, I just put that on and I can go a lot longer than I would if I didn't have it. So that's what I like to do. Music is huge. Keep strong and stay in there though.
Absolutely. So Vita, I would say that we're both in the same boat as you. If I see another home video body weight workout again, I'm gonna vomit. I'm at that point. But I'm someone who I really like to stay active. That's kind of like my medicine in day-to-day life. So kind of pertaining to what you said about just feeling more, I guess like a reduction in your strength, you feel a little more achy, you're not feeling like your normal self. I feel awful when I take more than one day off from any kind of physical. It might be something really light, might be intense. It varies obviously, but when my body is inactive or not as mobile as it's normally on day-to-day life, it becomes very stiff, and I actually have more aches and pains when I take prolonged periods of time off. So, I mean, I know it sucks, but I would say if you can find some form of movement patterns, body weight routine, anything that you can access online with minimal equipment that you have at your house, just something that you can do every day that doesn't bore the crap out of you, he's going to start responding really well to it. It doesn't even have to be intense. It's just the motion. Motion is lotion.
Right, that's true. That is true.
I agree with that. I've been getting super stiff.
Yeah.
I finally started doing more stuff a few days ago. It's been a big difference.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Huge difference.
Stay in motion. Stay in motion.
Stay in motion.
That motion is lotion line. I'm not going to steal that. So, all right, another one on Facebook from Alana Renee Quattro.
Alana.
Who is that?
Who is that?
And so she's asking, what are some good
Which is a long jab, long cross, long tee. You're playing like body shot games with a shorter person. You're not going to be training the roll or the in and out game. So we talked about Steve being the longer partner here and using more of the 70-30 stance, right? Kind of using those teeps, using the jab, and just keeping me at bay. And that's like his goal. And that's what you should be looking to do as a taller fighter. If Steve is playing the long game and I go up to him and I'm trying to play the long game, I will be getting hit all day. I'm gonna lose that game all day. So what I like to refer to is the 50-50 stance, and then use a little bit more movement in and out. And what movement does, for example, we'll use a teep, right? So if I start to move in and out and Steve is trying to land that teep, I can use that movement to feint to get him to throw the teep. And maybe when he throws the teep, I'm pulling out of range, he falls forward, boom, and there's my opportunity to get in. So what we like to talk about is making him commit to something, get inside of where you want to be, and then you work your way in. And that's one of the safest ways to get in is kind of using your feints and head movement to kind of step in and allowing him to overcommit and fall forward, and that's what gets your way in. But you never want to play the long game with a longer person. So don't play, I always like to talk about being able to switch your stances up. You're going from 70-30 to 50. 30 is more defense, keeping people long, teeps, jabs, and then 50-50 more movement, being able to move in and out. So I think it's good to practice both. If you're at home, your 70-30 stance, practicing your offense/defense, and you're keeping people away, and then 50-50 movement, changing your angle, creating that thing in your mind if you're going to be moving in, out to get inside for the longer person. And see if he has anything.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. The only thing I would add is fighter, one of the most critical things a shorter fighter can do to get inside and be effective on the inside is feinting. So, not all tall fighters, this is I'm not insulting tall fighters, but if they see the fighter's extremely short and they're not very, they're extremely stationary, they're not very bouncy, there's nothing for them to kind of like keep their eyes on. So they develop lazy habits. They keep their guard a little shorter. One of the things to draw that out, if you're a stationary, more explosive, shorter fighter, is feinting and getting them to react to it. And you'll see it in their eyes. The tall fighters will get nervous because all of a sudden that person got very mobile very quick, right? So drawing out a parry, drawing it out with a lead hand feint, a right hand feint, and then capitalizing on that window the second it opens up. That's all I would say.
Yeah, so like the major weapon is your feints. Feinting and being able to feint is going to rely on your footwork. Being able to move your feet and show that you can move in and out is going to be huge to sell it, right? You got to sell it to get the feint. So yeah, feinting is the hugest way to get in safely, and then having attacks there from the inside. And then body work, right? Once you're inside, work the body, because typically their hands are going to be higher up, and you can use the body. And if they're taller, typically they'll have a longer torso, and it's easier to hit the body too. So I like to use, if I'm inside, body shots on the inside, and then yeah, I think that covers what we did last week, which is just working on your feints. I think that's really the biggest one to focus on. So that being said, work on your footwork, being able to switch your feet up to 70-30 and 50-50.
Awesome.
I'll see you in a little bit.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, no, I think it's cool. I think we're gonna get a lot of like repeat questions,
Yeah,
a lot of
that's good.
common themes that people are gonna want to dive into a lot because different people are gonna tune in at different times.
Yeah.
So we got another question on YouTube from Ian Longton.
Ian,
What's up,
Ian?
brother? How you doing?
Any tips for keeping balance on kicks? I'm actually curious about this too.
Yeah, so we had that question last week as well. I'm more than happy to go over it. I can. We'll have Steve start off. Go ahead and start off with what you think is the best.
You guys back up towards that logo.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So one of the things a mentor of mine told me, Alex Palmy, he said the less amount of time you're on one leg in a fight, the better, right? So I think the concept behind that statement is the motion behind your lower body attacks, keeping rear side push kick, left kick, switch kick, right kick, whatever the case may be, knees, extending your hip all the way. You want to be on that supporting leg for as little time as possible while inflicting the most amount of damage and being the most effective with the weapon you're throwing, right? So with that being said, I think a lot of people kill their balance with hang time, is what I call it, on kicks. So their kicks come out too wide, or the kick comes up really well and makes contact with the target, but then for whatever reason, and I struggled with this earlier when I was first starting to train, the kick will swivel out big and wide, and you're adding like a whole other second to the time that you're on that one leg. So
He calls it hang time. I call that lazy recoils. That was
Yeah.
super lazy. So go ahead and demonstrate what a lazy recoil would be and what Steve's talking about. So if Steve kicks my body,
right, so if I kick the right, throw the right kick here, and it's lazy, I see this a
super
lot.
slow, wide, all the way around.
I see this a lot, especially with people trying to figure out how the body kick works on the bag for the first time, right? This is a pretty common mistake, but it's something that it kind of it can hamper your development later on down your career. So that would be the biggest thing I would focus on. So one of the things that I was taught at Sevanchai with kicking is using the leg as like the analogy they told me is it's like an elevator. So you travel up the elevator shaft and then get off at your exit. So the idea is the kick travels tight on the hip and then rotates over at the last second before it makes contact and cuts in with that hip rotation just before contact. Other than that, the kick is almost traveling directly up and then cutting over. So that's all. That would be my piece of advice for sure.
Yeah, and to help you with the lazy recoils, right? So if I do see here, it's super wide. So what I like to do is tuck it directly back. If I tuck it, it's going to get my feet back faster. It's going to allow me to get back to my balance. And so I do these drills in all my classes on round kick week, because the first thing about round kicks and having a good powerful round kick is balance, and you have to have good balance for that. So I like to talk about I like to give you guys like 4 or 5 options after your round kick to throw it. So we did this. You can do this on the bag or with your partner, but either side, I like to use the right round kick, tuck my leg back, and the second it touches the ground, I shoot the jab. Boom. That allows me to get my balance back, and then allows me to not think about kicking and being done, kicking and having an answer after each one. So we have the round kick, tuck it down to the jab. I like the round kick, and then we can use the teep here. Round kick, tuck it down, boom, to the left teep. Okay? We can do a round kick, boom, tuck it down into the check. Boom, check is also going to help you with your balance. We can also double up on a round kick. Round kick, plant my feet, boom, round kick again. Just make sure our balance is good before we send it. Like I said, minimal time in the air. Once it's there, get it back as fast as you can. These are great drills to do it. If you're on the bag, I like to go round kick, plant my feet, and then a double round kick, back to it, and then a jab. Okay, so all these things are going to help you get your balance back in order to throw a proper technique. If I throw a kick and I fall back and I miss my jab, then you need to work on your balance and slow it down a little bit. But yeah, like I said, that drill is huge. Kicking, tucking it directly back, and then giving yourself something afterwards. A jab, a teep, a knee, something like that will really help with your balance there. Another thing will be speed kicks, right? 1, 2, 1, 2. Working on that balance and just getting used to being on one leg and then being able to retract it and get your balance back. Just practice, practice, practice is huge for that.
Awesome. All right, so we got another one from Janelle Lillian.
Janelle!
And
How are
this
you?
one's on Facebook. And she's asking, do you have any recommendations of effective shadow boxing drills to work at home? So I'm sure there's probably a lot of those in the class content that we've been putting on, but if you guys have any favorites that you can demonstrate, that would
Well, if you're looking for,
awesome.
if you're looking to get a little more of a workout, I would recommend getting some weights or egg weights that they sell now that wrap on your fingers, or just some simple 1 to 2 pound weights. That will help you actually have some sort of a workout in between. And then I watched a video with Joe Vazzarini the other day with that exact technique, and just finishing out your shadow boxing with burnouts. So you have your egg weights or your weights, and you're working the 1-2s to build your shoulder strength, your hooks to the body and the head to build out all your shoulders here. That is big to help you get like a workout during your shadow boxing. But as far as shadow boxing in itself, like I like to just do build-ons. Just start off with like a jab and then add on to that, and then just kind of make a combination and then kind of work that in. When I shadow box, I do a lot of footwork. I like to move my feet a lot more in and out, and then some. I like to mix up all my footwork anyway, because I like to do hybrid stuff. I like to do traditional, and I like to do more kickboxing and move my feet. I like to practice that, so I like to incorporate what works best for those. You know, if I'm working on this, I'm working on my teep and my knee to my elbow. I'm working on my footwork. I'm able to do a 2, pull, and do a combination, more boxing. Yeah, just play around with that. Play with your stances and mix your styles up. Yeah.
Treat shadow boxing, especially in kind of like scenarios that we're in right now, where we have a lot of time to do it, is like self-evaluation portions of my training. So I like to think like, what weapon do I want to be more proficient at, or what do I think I struggle with? My balance is off on the switch knee. My right elbow is a lot less fast than my left elbow. It's not as accurate, whatever the case may be, right? I kind of like to do it this way. I'll set 10 rounds, 2 minutes, 30 seconds off. That can be your workout for the day, right? The intensity can vary based on how much you kind of want to put out. But the biggest thing that I would focus on is do 1 round of something completely focused on the area of your game that you want to get better at, right? Which I understand is frustrating and tedious because it's not something you're a natural at, which is why we're doing 10 rounds. So 1 round, do something that you don't like doing and you want to get better at. 2nd round, go back to what your old habits are and go back to the thing that you actually like doing. Whether it's like you like to punch a lot and throw the low kick, right? Okay, well you get to reward yourself with round 2 with a lot of punches and low kicks. And then back to round 3, working on something to you. And then round 4, back to what you like doing. So I think that's a great approach to kind of blending, kind of what Danny's talking about a hybrid style. Like really the boxing and the volume of kickboxing, and then just those amazing kicks and balance that you see in Muay Thai, along with a little bit more of that weighted back stance. So that'd be my suggestion.
Awesome. All right, we got another question.
Keep 'em coming.
What's that?
Keep them coming. Dude.
Oh yeah, man. No, they're keeping it coming, and everybody's super engaged right now.
Awesome.
We've got Jonathan ST. I'm not sure what ST stands for, but
Jonathan.
Yeah, Jonathan. He's asking any recommendations on how to train trigger responses, either punch return or kick return.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a few. Ones is sometimes it's not possible to check every single kick unless, especially just like I said, the 70-30 stance. I can rely more on checking. But say I have more of a 50-50 stance, it's gonna be a lot harder to check. So that's one way I like to build triggers that way. That even though I got my leg kick, I'll still make him pay for it. So what I like to do is say Steve kicks my leg, okay? I'm gonna make sure I load my weight. And this is like Robin Van Roosmalen style. Like he'll just eat the kick and load all his weight up, and then his return is so much more powerful than, and he just took that one damage to give 3 power back. So one thing that I like is both kicks. And so if Steve throws the right kick, I load my left weight here and on my left side. You guys can choose what you want, uppercut, hook, whatever it is, but he throws the kick and that is my trigger. So I go here, boom, and I attack 3 back, right? With the inside, I'll come here, boom, and it'll send them across, boom, back and forth. So if I'm receiving a kick and I'm taking the damage, I'm gonna deliver punches back because I'm grounded and I'll have a better chance of throwing more power. Then you could be finishing with the kick. So what I like to do is this, is you have to preset a combination. So every time your leg kicks hits, so let's say Steve kicks my leg and my response is gonna be hook, cross, liver, low kick. That is my response every single time. I drill that 100 times, 1,000 times, and it just becomes a reaction, trying to make the conscious motions unconscious. I just do it without even thinking. So Steve kicks my leg, and every time I'm just stepping up, boom, and it doesn't matter. Every time he goes, I'm gonna send it. And so we wanna make it a little more advanced. Steve acts like he's attacking me, right? He throws punches like shell. Right when he touches my leg, boom, boom, I'm attacking him, okay? That's one thing to do with anything, right? So you just choose a weapon. Say it's a left kick now, right? So I shoot the left kick, and I just find an answer. And we're doing Dutch blocks here, but you could also do checks, right? So if he throws a kick, I can check here and just send that thing back over and over, 1,000 times. Do it over and over, and then create a live scenario as Steve would be punching ahead of it, right? So he hits me, and I just wait for that kick, right? Boom, bang, back and forth, okay? So find a trigger on one specific technique. It could be a jab, a cross, a low kick, a body kick. Have an answer for it. I like to, again, have at least 2 strikes to the one, if not more, 3 or 4, and respond to that. Just do 1,000 of them. Do a whole bunch in a row, and then it just becomes unconscious. You just do it without thinking. And then when he gets into like a live situation, you start getting overwhelmed with punches. The second that leg gets touched, boom, boom, I'm on him right away. Just kind of
We just
There
come
we go.
back
Good.
on.
Yeah, we're back. Cool.
All right,
Maybe,
time in.
Time in.
Steve, if you want to like back up just a minute,
Yeah.
and kind of go over again some of those things that you said.
Sure.
So.
All right, time in. We lost audio. We're gonna go where we left off.
Sorry about that, guys. So just to make it brief, basically, Danny used Robin Van Roosmalen as an example show. I refer to it as inside, outside, outside, inside. Great alternative to trying to check every low kick, especially if someone who has more of a Muay mat style, really aggressive with the punches and then just blasts the low kick. If you get your leg volleyed off with 2 of those low kicks, the fight might change. So here's what I like to do. So if Danny throws the outside low kick on me, I'm simply going to immediately return the inside low kick. So the reason it's important to do this almost instantly is if you're looking at scoring, like for example in IFMA, I'm getting that point back. right away. He low kicked me, and we're still moving around in the first minute or two of the first round, right? That might not be a significant strike at the beginning of the fight, but by round 3 and the fight is a total shootout, low kick.
Building that trigger. The second my leg gets kicked, boom, I'm getting that response in my head to send it back. You can also do, you can just talk about, this is if you have a partner, obviously, and you can talk about how many punches we throw, and you guys can build this up to as many as you want in order to like a game, like whoever hits who first or whatever it is. You can do like single punches, right? So I hit one punch, he responds punch. He build up to 2, right? 2, he hits 2 back, boom, boom. So that trigger is like, I feel it on my guard, boom, boom, I have an answer right away. So you feel your partner exposing himself by throwing and attacking you, that is your opportunity to send something back. So you can do the triggers, you can do preset triggers, right? Where we have a set combination every time your whatever gets kicked or punched, you send something back. And then you can do the freestyle stuff that we just did there with the kick volleying and the punch volleying, and they'll help you build your triggers up. And that is one of my favorite ways to train, because it definitely gets you ready for fighting, because that's going to be the most realistic way to train and prepare yourself for a fight. So I really like trigger training. That's like one of my favorite ways to train and get prepared for fighting. Good question. We're triggered. We're triggered, dude. Don't step.
Awesome. Really quick question from the one Sean Madden.
Ooh,
He is
Sean.
asking tips for wearing short shorts. How to make my shorts even shorter.
All right.
Rolls, all
so
right.
The biggest thing for wearing short shorts is rolls. So if you roll too high, and say you have long boxers, you got to roll the boxers. So everything, it's all about rolling. So if I start here, look, I mean, we can start here. All right. This is what I call day one. This is your day one tie shorts guy. Wears them here, and it starts with a roll. Every roll it means every inch, and I would say
It's like your Muay Thai belt.
every year that you do means one roll. so I started, with 1 year. Boom, it gets a little bit above the knee. Okay, you start doing your stuff, you get better at your kicks, and then that gets 2 rolls. Boom. All of a sudden it starts to creep up a little bit, and then I've been training for 3 years now. It gets 3 rolls. Boom. So every year it gets a roll, and eventually you want to get to like right there. If you're good, you'll be this tucked in.
Danny, how many years have you been training?
12 years.
12
So that's 12
rolls.
rolls. That gets 12 rolls. And as you can see, I'm pretty hyped up right now.
Dang, that's inspirational. 12
Great
rolls.
question though.
Yeah.
How many
Great
rolls
question.
does a roller take to roll the shorts?
How many rolls did a roll take roll?
Alrighty. Let's see. I hope I'm not walking into a trap with this one here, but we got Devin Scott asking on Facebook.
Dev.
And I don't know who this person is, and this is why I'm hoping I'm not walking into a trap. How do y'all feel about Jonathan Haggerty and his teep feint to downward elbow?
Oh, it's a thing of
Well,
beauty.
Let's talk about Jonathan Haggerty for a second.
Yeah.
That is someone who's accomplished a lot in such a little bit of time. Also referencing like Joseph Valtellini, Bazooka Joe.
Mm-hmm.
These are some guys that just have this really good talent, but also have great heart and conditioning. And they've gone up to a high scale just from based off their talent. I mean, Haggerty only has like 15 fights, and he's fought Rotang twice, which is a huge accomplishment. Rotang has like what 150, 170 fights. So Jonathan Haggerty is a great example of someone to study and watch because he has all that experience. He doesn't have any experience, but he has a great way of throwing things like the teep into the elbow. So I would have to see it. What is it? Was this one where he feints it into the elbow? Is that what he's talking about? Yeah, I mean, I would say that's mildly risky because I'm coming from zone 3, and you have to get into zone 1. And so in that space, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for your partner to maybe read it and hit you. I would say that is a high-level move, and I wouldn't recommend just trying that if that's what your question is. Definitely a risky thing, right? Because zone 3 to zone 1. So you got a lot of space to cover there, and a lot of times, when there's space, there's time for him to read what's going on, which could mean a counter of some sort. But he lands it right, so it works for him, and maybe something that he drills and trains. But again, he's a high-level person as well. Would you got something on it?
I would say that if I remember the elbow you're referring to correctly, it was off the hop. He didn't really have to set up the teep that I think. He had pretty badly hurt his opponent by the time he threw that elbow. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Haggerty has such a high fight IQ. He's not going to throw a high risky move like a spinning elbow or some lunging Superman or hopping elbow in rounds 1 or 2. The guy was like significantly hurt. He was pretty much out on his feet. His reaction time was super delayed. It was a perfect opportunity for Haggerty to take advantage of him. So he might have teeped him lightly. I mean, I don't think it sucked his win, like it wasn't a snap kick or anything, but the guy was already backing up, and he kind of put himself in the distance for that elbow anyway, so it was pretty simple. He teeped him, the guy kind of circled away. He'd already been taking in a lot of wind. He started moving back slightly, and right when he started doing that, that's when Haggerty kind of got the read because he was leading away from him with his hands so low, finishing there. I think Haggerty is a taller guy for his weight class compared to these ties he's fighting, so throwing a downward elbow to the top of the opponent's head is probably where he finds a higher accuracy.
So the reason, I didn't see it, but the reason why he would is probably because he's getting some sort of reaction from his teep. So that would be the next thing. If you're getting reactions off anything, and it'd be good to result to it. So I like to have at least 3 other options from your one option to go to if you're getting a read, which means if Steve keeps teeping me and I'm doing this stuff, I'm doing this, or maybe I'm doing this, maybe I'm backing up on it. That means I'm reading it. He's affecting me with his strike, and I'm reading off his stuff. And so when he gets that, he can now set things up like that: an elbow, a kick, a teep. So that's probably what Haggerty has in his back pocket, ready to go if he gets that read and that reaction. So, like I said, if you have a weapon, it's good to have 2 or 3 more to result to in case you get reads like that. Especially with teeps and round kicks, those are things that you'll get reactions from. Even punches too. So. If you have whatever one you want to practice, I would have like 2 or 3 in your back pocket that you can result to, and then you can go back to it, right? You can go to the teep, boom, fake the teep into your elbow or your teep, and then go back to the teep, right? Make him guess, make him guess 3 times. He's got 3 weapons that he's got to guess that I'm going to throw. So that's probably something that Haggerty trains, and he has that in his back pocket. So if he's getting a reaction on the teep, you probably step forward, boom, throw the elbow. I didn't see it, but I'm sure it's pretty sweet.
Best example of what Danny just said. Go back and watch Haggerty and watch his use of the left leg, his lead leg. He goes back and forth between 2 weapons to set almost everything else up. The switch kick, the left switch kick, and the lead teep. He uses those 2 weapons and exploits opportunities left and right. So go back and watch the film and focus on that lead leg.
With all his extra time, do some fighter study. It's great. He's a good up-and-comer person to watch. He's got great technique. And he's already fighting some really big name people. Thank you. Question.
Yeah, so and we've got one from Juan Luis on YouTube. He trains up in Longmont. I'm really glad he tuned in.
How you doing, Juan?
In Boulder sometimes too. But anyway, so he's saying, and we've already talked about some good shadow boxing drills that we can do at home, but he says, I have no imagination for shadow boxing at home. I start with the basics. But when it comes to freestyle, I spend more time thinking than moving or repeating the same thing over and over. Any recommendations?
I'm the same way. I'll pretty much do the same thing. But I think what we talked about in the shadowboxing rounds is what Steve said is having a long amount of rounds, 10 rounds by 2 minutes, meaning you get a break in between, which means you shift your mind every single round. So maybe your first round was head movement, and you're picturing, another thing is imagination, is imagine someone is punching you, right? So I mean, it looks weird and it feels weird, but imagine someone is throwing punches at your face, and I'm dodging, I'm engaged, and so maybe like Steve said, have 10 round span, and every round has something different. So maybe the first round it will be head movement, and so what I'm going to do is focus on moving my head and then attacking. Okay, so, and then maybe the next round will be checking. Right, so he's gonna attack. I'm gonna shell maybe, then I check and attack. So I think maybe, like Steve said, is just having a section of something and focus on that the entire round will help you build more. And then when you do a live round and let's blend it all together, you might see yourself going into other places of what you're practicing when that's 10 rounds.
I would just say the best thing to get me in the right mindset for shadow boxing is right before you do it, even if you're feeling like kind of lazy or you're like kind of hesitant to get started, just go watch your favorite fighter's highlight video on YouTube, finish it, and then go start your shadow boxing. You'll be in the right mindset for sure after that.
And my thing with shadow boxing, because shadow boxing is great and it's definitely good for it, but yeah, you get bored and you're hitting air, it doesn't feel like the same when you're hitting pads or a bag. So what I really recommend is getting those egg weights and the weights. It makes a difference. When you have weights behind it, you actually get tired during shadow boxing. It actually feels like you're doing something. So I would really recommend trying your shadow boxing with some weights. It really makes a difference in your output in the shadow boxing rounds. So I would recommend that, and that might help with your shadow boxing boredness. If you're getting bored of shadow boxing, that might help.
Very cool.
Yeah.
This is a good question. I see this on the jiu-jitsu side a lot too, but what advice do you have for students who are nervous to move from just taking class into starting to spar?
Great question.
One. Go ahead. One for me. One for me is just the environment that you're in. Like here at Easton, one of our biggest things is making sure we're taking care of our partners. So I always start people off with doing handicap drills to let them feel comfortable before they get into the actual sparring. With that being said, I always make it real clear that no one is here to win world titles. No one is here to hurt the other person. That you want to be able to have fun in between. So I make that real clear when we first start out. I mean, there's times that we have the hard sparring and the competition sparring, but that's not right away. And I like to let people know that at the beginning stages here will be nice and light 30% sparring, so you should be really comfortable and you shouldn't be afraid to get hit. And that's one thing I like to talk about is just the environment that you're in and the people that you're around. You can trust them to take care of you. And that's one thing that I talk about when people, I was like, just don't freak out, don't worry about it, it's not gonna be a big deal. I wanna ease you into it at that 30-25% sparring, and then you'll eventually build your way up into like our, what we call Saturday competition sparring, which will go a little harder, like 80-75%. But yeah, I talked about environment, and I'm sure we'll have some more in a second here.
Awesome. Keep going.
Yeah, I would say that any program, so Easton and any good program worth training at in the United States is going to exactly do what Danny said, is very graciously and slowly get you kind of familiarized with what sparring and getting hit and hitting back looks like. So from handicapped rounds to just working with partners to getting more comfortable holding pads. I can only speak from a coach's perspective. I think it's much easier to develop a person who's a little timid and nervous of the idea of sparring for the first time than someone who's really trigger happy, gung-ho, all systems ablaze type guy or woman. But I would say that aggressive mentality wilts a lot faster than a good mentality and a good attitude coming from someone that is initially at least scared of the prospect of fighting someone. That's scary. So I think that's perfectly normal. I think you should just really lean into the program we have here and let your coaches develop you at a very gradual level, just like they're doing right now. And I think one day you're gonna wake up and you're not gonna be nervous about sparring anymore. You're gonna be excited. You're gonna be like, oh, I wanna try all this stuff that I've been working on, and I'm really I feel like I'm asserting myself in these rounds rather than just being like kind of a fish out of water. That's what I would say.
Good stuff. So we've got a similar question both on Facebook and YouTube. So on Facebook, Landon R. Gam or Gom, probably butchering that, Appreciate
Landon?
that, is asking this question, and then also Coach Josh Whitman is asking a question about this.
No, Josh.
So Josh's question, well, let's start with Landon's actually. Landon's question is, what do you guys like to eat fight day? And Josh's question is, what's your go-to food snack to eat before training to maximize energy / output, and how long before training do you eat? So what do you eat on training days? What do you eat on fight days?
Yeah. I mean, everyone's body is different. If you ask that question to a group of 10 people, I think at least 5 of them will have a different opinion on what they're going to eat. It really depends on your body and what works for you. But for me, from my experience, obviously I like to keep it clean. I like to keep high burning carb foods, like for example, I like to do like a sweet potatoes, broccoli, and chicken. Right, I keep it clean, but it keeps it, enough energy to maintain a good output. Obviously, I'm not going to eat anything heavy until after. Anything that will sit, like pizza, burgers, anything that's going to just sit in your body. You want something that's going to burn easy and burn quick. As far as what I eat before, I like to make sure I give myself 2 hours, minimum of 2 hours of not eating anything before I train, at least that. Otherwise, you'll have cramps. Like you'll know it if you eat a little too, you'll get cramps when you throw a round kick. It's like it hurts in your stomach, and and it's weird. You think you're going to get energy from something that you eat before, it actually ends up diminishing your energy because it's not really put into your body. But yeah, at least 2 hours before, and I usually have energy bars all the time, and I keep those ready to go. So I usually eat like breakfast, lunch, and then like you have that weird period I know you're talking about, like in between before you come into training, because you can't really eat dinner. So I usually like hard-boiled eggs are great, energy bars, something light, maybe like 800 to 1,000 calories right before you come in. Like 2 hours obviously before you come in. Something like that, yeah, just anything. But everyone's gonna have a different opinion, so watch Steve go here and he'll tell you different opinion.
Mine doesn't vary from that much. I would say on fight day it's oatmeal, fruit, super high carb. Want all the energy I can get. Have my glycogen nice and full from the weight cut. Usually I get in when I fight it, usually 147 if the weigh-in was at 135, and a big part of that is just rehydrating and then getting a lot of those, like Danny said, fast-acting carbs. Fruit is king in my opinion. Before training, again for me, same thing, 2 hours. On heavier training nights like Tuesday, Thursdays, or our sparring days, Saturday, I'll usually do breakfast, lunch, and then an additional meal, usually oatmeal with fruit, about 2 hours before, and that usually keeps me going all the way through until dinner at like 9:30.
And that being said, set yourself up for success. Like plan ahead. Right? So
Yes.
like sometimes I know for me, you get caught up with something and you don't have time to eat a snack, and then you just blew it, and you can't, and you're past that 2 hour limit, and it's like now I'm hungry during training. So set yourself up for success. Like maybe when you have some time off, prep yourself for the week. Prep yourself for 5 days in a row of a specific snack that will work for you. And that way you can go to your fridge and grab it right away. And that's why I think energy bars are the most efficient, because you can keep them in your car and in different places and they don't go bad. But yeah, set yourself up for success for sure, and just plan ahead. And I know I've been there before where I'm just like, okay, I'm definitely going to eat before, and then I get caught up with something and it's too late for me to eat. So just go ahead and set yourself up. Think about what you want and set yourself up for 5 days in a row, and that's one way to do it.
Being hungry during training was horrible.
Yeah, so I think I'd rather have a stomach ache than be hungry during training too, because you just have no energy. It's
Right.
kind of a hit or miss there. But yeah, good question.
Awesome. You guys want to back up just a little bit? You guys are drawn to the camera.
Yeah.
The camera loves you.
Trying to get that.
All right, so we've got about 10-ish minutes left. We've got one question that we haven't gotten to yet. So I figure maybe we'll answer this last question, and if you guys want to do a little bit light sparring, and then we'll close it out.
Sure.
Sound good?
Yeah.
So this one's from Sean Imes on YouTube.
Sean?
And he's asking for any good drills or specific stretches for improving kicks while at home.
People have asked me that for years, and me personally, I don't stretch at all.
Yeah,
One of the things that I do, if you have a bag, this is a great thing, a great drill, and that's something that's helped me with it. As I start at a point, so you can use tape too. I put tape somewhere on the bag, and I'll kick there solid. I feel real comfortable with kicks, like 50 I mean, be able to throw it there, and then I'll move it up an inch. Boom, I'll try to kick that one. And then get that one down, then go up another, go up another, go up another, until eventually you can get up real high to the head or whatever your possibilities are. Yeah, let's start here. And that's one thing that helps me, and it's kind of just building the, kind of like, I don't know what they call it, but just like expanding. I don't want to overstretch. I want to be able to stretch and be able to hit the spots that I'm trying to hit. Me, I don't stretch. I just keep repetition of the same thing, and it becomes that I'm pretty flexible because of practicing of where I need to go. So I would say I'm flexible in the right ways for Muay Thai. Right? So I can't put my head over my leg over my head. I can certainly throw a head kick because I've repped that so many times, and I've never done anything specific for that other than just trying higher up on the bag. Right. So for me, time is what got me that flexibility to get. Like I said, flexible for Muay Thai. I'm flexible in the right ways for Muay Thai. I'm not like some yoga flexibility. I can bend all crazy ways, but flexible enough for Muay Thai. And it's just repetition. That's what I do.
I don't stretch either. I would say the main thing that I think helps is technique. So mastering technique is going to be the biggest thing. You'll see people with heavy middle kicks that don't have good hips, tight hips all the time. For me, one thing that I do focus on in my training weekly when I do my strength and conditioning, I do place a pretty heavy emphasis on glute activation. So I think that a lot of issues with the hip typically stem from that, especially with what we do, being explosive and driving our hips into the middle kick or the teep or the knee especially. So if you can, I mean, just getting on a lacrosse ball with your glutes a little bit a few minutes before training, that can make a world of difference. But I don't stretch. That being
said, don't keep stretching out of your regimen. If stretching works for you, absolutely stretch. If you think it will help, then go ahead and do your yoga, do all that stuff. That's just me. But I know some people that stretch like no other, prior and after training. So don't take that out. Like, don't stretch. If you want to stretch and you feel like that helps you, absolutely stretch. It's just something that I just don't do. I just do the technique. I warm up slowly into the stretching point of Muay Thai.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so don't take out that we're harshing on stretching. Stretching's good. It just depends on who it's for and who you're talking to.
I wonder if any athletes feel like they stretch enough.
I know, right?
Because I feel like even the jiu-jitsu guys, like just about
if anything, I would stretch after everything.
Yeah, never before. I don't.
Yeah,
if it works for you, it works for you. That's exactly.
But I mean, I know like the movies and stuff, like what Jean-Claude Van Damme is spread out, and like people think that is the reason why he can kick. Who knows? I just don't feel like that's necessary.
Got it. Awesome. Well, we got about 7 minutes left. Do you guys want to do?
Well, since you guys talked about the triggers, me and Steve will throw on our stuff, and we'll just do the volleys. We'll do some punch volleys, some kick volleys. That way we can go at a higher pace, and you guys can kind of see what the volleys are. We'll do some triggers. I'll just do a setup trigger for both of us, and then we'll do some kick volleys and some punch volleys for you guys.
Perfect.
Let's just run up that really small one. Low kick, hook cross, liver, low kick.
Got it.
And then we'll actually eventually do the punches and stuff.
I'm not warmed up this far right now. Dude, I'm still stiff. I was doing that back, blasting those kicks. I was like, fuck. Ouch. God damn it.
This is everybody's favorite part.
This kick volley.
This is why the people came.
Oh yeah.
Well, this will still look cool even though we're not really finished. All right. We're gonna do a trigger. We talked about triggers, and I want to touch a little more on that to finish out, and we'll be able to throw 100%. But we're gonna go off that one, off the receive, kind of Robin Van Roosmalen style. Kind of just put your weight into the low kick, and then load up all your punches. So Steve's gonna kick my leg. Steve's gonna kick my right leg. My response is going to be loading my weight. So as he kicks my leg, I'm loading my weight, return, hook, cross, liver, and then a low kick of myself. And me and Steve are just going to throw that back, and we'll progress here. So if he kicks my leg, I kick Steve's leg. And just keep this drill going. progression. We can progress from there. So we just added punches ahead of it, right? So Steve's gonna throw a punch combination and then drop a low kick, and that's gonna be my response. Punch combination, boom, my response. Boom, again. There's a punch combination. Leg gets kicked, boom, and attack. Building triggers. I go to Steve, throw a punch combination, his leg gets kicked, he fires. Boom, sends it to me. Send it to him. Okay, now we're just a little more realistic now. Okay. One more each. Okay. That's one trigger. That's our fun to drill. Now we can do the live triggers. We're gonna go kick volleys to the legs and the body. Okay. So one person starts it off. I usually do. Person starts out with a punch combination. Boom. And now the volley has started. It's over.
Day
As
one.
you see, you get real tired there. Woo! We're going like 100%. You know, go back and forth. So it's real close to sparring, real close. The other way is punching. Dangerous because your face will be open. So you punch light to the head, but you go to the body. We'll go off two punches. Two punches. Fun. That sounds fun. It's like we're sparring. Now we'll spar a little bit. All right, you got 1 minute.
Yeah, go for it. We can go over too, so just do your thing.
Okay. Wee. 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 Timing good.
Intercept.
Are we out of time, Jay?
No, we're good. You can go for another minute. We can close out. It's up to you.
We're good.
Cool.
Quarantine
Yes,
condition.
let's,
So,
say goodbye to the people.
as you can see, we're out of shape. I'm out of breath from 3 minutes of training. But again,
Feels good to train though.
another great session. We'll be back next week. Hopefully these will get smoother. Keep bringing your questions. Also, update us how you guys are doing.
Yes.
Reach out to some of the coaches. Anybody you're close with, or if you're not close with, get to know them. Reach out to everybody and check up. I'd love to hear what you guys are up to. And if I can help in any way, any techniques, any drills to do at home. We hope to get like some more stuff, bag work things, conditioning drills, shadow boxing drills. We'll try to add that in. We'll try to have a big list And we'll send it out to you guys pretty soon here. We just got to talk to all the coaches and get a collaboration of everything. But thank you.
Thank you guys. Really appreciate your time and thanks for tuning in.
Oh man.
Nikki says y'all need more burpees.
Yeah.